Hi, this is Joe at Macro Builders. This is part two of a demo where I actually built a PowerPoint deck from Excel. So if you remember part one, the client was an HR consulting firm and they do employee surveys. So a big company might bring them in to survey all their employees and then they get the results back and they take those results and they compare that within the company, department to department, division to division, and they compare that to industry benchmarks so that the client can see how their employee morale is or how the employees feel about their business or what they do, and compare that to industry benchmarks to see if they're higher or lower, and depending on those results then put a plan together to address maybe shortcomings. So that's the client. So you can see that this had to be fairly versatile to be able to do that. The slide deck is anywhere between 60 and 130 slides long, so it ends up being pretty big. They were building by hand, so a consultant would get the results in the spreadsheet and they would actually then filter the data, build tables and charts, and then manually take them over into the PowerPoint. And you can see that would take a long time, so like about 3 days per deck. And they wanted to also reduce the amount of time it took to build a deck and then eliminate the errors, because when you do anything manually like that extensive, you're going to bound to put errors in the data. So what they wanted to do was eliminate those two things and reduce the amount of time and money they were spending on building these decks. So they called me up and this is the result. So if we look at one of the green tabs are where the data is interpreted and the results are printed. And so I approach this from create a macro, and a macro, each section of the macro is a slide, and it tells it what kind of slide it is, whether it's a table, whether it's a combination of a table and chart, whether it's a chart, whether it's bulleted text or text that's going to be brought over into the PowerPoint deck. So on the left side is the interpreter, where we have what the slide number is in the deck and what kind of slide it is by name and the information it needs to be able to pull the data out of the deck. In the green section are the results of that query and data reduction. And then on the right, you can see if it drives a chart, what the chart looks like. So what we want to do is bring this information over into a PowerPoint deck so that the client can then have something that they can deliver to their clients. So my approach was to use the same interpreter information on the left to actually build the deck. So let's go back and start it up. So that's this button here. So let's click on that. And first thing it asks is to open the deck. We have a demo deck here. Let's open it up. And it takes a few seconds to open it because it's 68 slides long. So once all 68 slides have been read in, you say OK, and then it starts to build. So immediately, in this case, it goes to 4. It replaces the chart there, and then it just goes to the next one down, which is on page 7, and it actually makes a bulleted list from the data. So it could take a long time to run, maybe 5 or 6 minutes, and I don't want to use up that much of your time. So what I did here is stopped it at slide 13 because it pretty much brings everything in. You can see it'll do a hybrid in a few seconds, where you can see it actually changes a table and changes the chart that's associated with that table. So that's this one here. So it basically, you can see over on the right, it changes the formatting of color, whether the value that goes into the table, and then builds the chart. So we're up to, I think, slide 12. So you can see it's fixing a table here, and then the last slide is 13, which we're on now, which is that table. So you can see how fast it is. And it actually, in some of these slides, there is just a template slide. And based on the data that is being interpreted, that one slide may expand out to be 30 slides. So it actually will, you only have to have the one template slide that's used, and it'll convert that to 30 slides where the data is slightly different according to the wishes of the consultant for the presentation. So you can see it's very fast. What we did is took something that took days and reduced it down to minutes. And the client's very happy with this, and it saves time for their clients because their reps aren't spending all of their time building these decks, but then can be interacting with the clients on developing plans to improve their employee satisfaction. So again, this is Joe at Macro Builders. You can see this is just one of a few demos I have on the website. If you want to go visit macrobuilders.com, you can see some other ones. Or if you would like to talk to me about maybe some challenges you have with Excel and PowerPoint or just Excel by itself, email me. I'm Joe at macrobuilders.com, and I thank you for taking time to watch this today, and I hope to hear from you soon. Bye.